Well, hello, welcome back to my virtual sofa. And I'm delighted that my guest today is Shari Hoffman, the second clarinet of the Stamford Symphony. And Shari, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Russell. It's nice to be here.
Now, where are you right now?
I am in my basement studio. Let's see, if anyone wants to see. This is where I escape to practice. And no one seems to be bother me down here usually, but sometimes little kids will make their way down the steps and find me.
So like the rest of us, you've been isolated for some time, I hope, keeping safe. You're looking very well.
Oh, thank you.
But I gather you have two small boys that you're taking
Yes.
care of at the moment.
Yes.
How's that?
Yes. It's definitely challenging. Yeah, but it's really nice to spend this extra time with them. I have a 4.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, and definitely busy taking care of them, keeping them occupied, and trying to keep them away from the screen as much as possible. But you know, we do the best we can. So
I hear you. We're
yeah.
trying to put up as much as we can for kids on the Stamford Symphony channel, on that part of the channel for parents and grandparents who are trying to keep the kids amused at the moment. It must be very hard.
Yeah,
if they can't
hard.
go to school and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as the weather gets nicer, I think it's going to be a little easier to get.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Okay, so you've been playing the clarinet for how long with the Stamford Symphony?
I've been playing with the Stamford Symphony for almost 20 years. Officially for, I think it was 2011, it became official. So it's been a while.
It never ceases to amaze me how the connections that our musicians have with Stamford, how long they played with us, the incredible loyalty that you guys have to our audience and the orchestra. What's so special about the Stamford Symphony when you guys come together?
Well, it's such a wonderful, wonderful group of musicians. Many of these musicians I work with in other orchestras around the New York City area. And some I just see in Stamford when I come. But there's something really special about our combination of players, and it's really nice to just be able to play such wonderful repertoire, and the audiences in Stamford are wonderful, and I think they really value the orchestra. So it's really nice to perform for everybody. And you know, it's just something different from our daily lives. I come to Stamford, and a new space, new repertoire. It's a nice place to be. So I really value it.
We're about to put up on the channel a happy hour that the second violins recorded recently. They're hilarious. I mean, there's a really cohesive group. They've been playing together for years, and they know each other very well. They socialize together, and they came to me and said, we want to do a happy hour and share that with the audience and so on. It was hilarious.
That's so fun.
You can see the bonding, the connections, the love that's going on there. Really, really beautiful. And I just see that all the time.
Yeah.
Now, why the clarinet? I will ask this.
Oh, I think you're cutting it a little bit. There we go. The clarinet. Well, I started playing the clarinet in 6th grade. In middle school, they all brought us into a room and they demonstrated all the woodwind instruments and up on stage. And I heard the clarinet for the first time, and I was immediately drawn to it. And I ran home and I told my mom, that's what I wanted to play. I want to play the clarinet. So they got me one, and I haven't turned back since then. So the clarinet, when it's played well, I think the quality of sound that can be produced on the instrument is just unlike any other instrument. And I'm like very drawn to that sound. And I think the repertoire that we have as clarinetists is some of the most amazing repertoire of any instrument, I think. I think there's only one other instrument I'm like a little bit jealous of, and that's just the cello. But besides that, I think, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, you're right. Some of those concertos, clarinet concertos, are just, the Mozart in particular.
Exactly.
We did the Copeland last year.
Mm-hmm.
These are just great pieces.
Absolutely.
But when did you know that you wanted to be a professional musician?
I knew, I think around 10th grade. It was actually kind of late, maybe. I don't know when most people know that they have to do this, but when I was in high school, I really fell in love with the music, but equally as much, I fell in love with the desire to improve on the instrument. And I loved working hard, and I loved just getting better and seeing where that could take me, and had very inspiring music teachers, and I played in a lot of different ensembles. And I just, at a certain point around 10th grade, I just knew that that's what I had to do. That's where I was my happiest.
So talk us through the instrument, because regularly you play two types of clarinet when you're in the orchestra. And talk a little bit about the clarinet family and its history. It's not the oldest of orchestral instruments, is it?
No, it's not. But it goes
very versatile.
Back, it is. It's not the oldest, and but there have been changes, improvements made to the clarinet. This is a modern instrument now. But back in the 1700s, there was the basset horn. Actually, Mozart wrote for the basset horn. This is a modern day instrument. And this is a B-flat clarinet. And typically in the orchestra, we have a B-flat and an A clarinet that we play most of the time. The B-flat is a little bit smaller than the A, and it's pitched a little bit higher. But most clarinets players often play E-flat clarinet, which is very tiny, and bass clarinet as well. The clarinet is made out of wood typically, but interestingly enough, this instrument is made up of, it's a composite. It's called a green line clarinet, and it's a composite of wood, like wood chips, and some other material that's all pressed together. It's a little different than what some other people usually play, but this day and age, this instrument is really good because it won't crack, and the cold weather can sort of cause wood instruments to crack. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Let me see. This is a mouthpiece, so this is what we put on the instrument, and we attach a reed to this, which is made out of wood, and this is how we produce a sound.
Talk about reeds for a second, because
Sure.
I know reeds are the bane of the lives of oboe players. They are forever making their reeds, scraping their reeds. Do you have the same problems with reeds?
Yes, well, oboe players will try to tell you that we're, we have it easier than them. They will, because, and we do, we have it. I mean, we can buy a box of reeds, and we'll buy a box of reeds and we'll throw away, 8 out of 10 reeds we'll throw right into the garbage. But oboists have to make theirs from scratch, so that's why they say that they have it much harder than us. But it's,
so what's the problem with the 8 that you throw away?
Quality control. It's so it's made out of a cane, and the quality of the cane isn't always the best. Doesn't vibrate well, and you just get pickier and pickier as you improve. But some of them you can adjust, and some of them are just never going to be good. So it's hard. Out of 10 in a box, you're lucky to get a couple good ones. And so this little piece of wood is whether I'm in a good mood today or not in a good mood today. It really, if you're having a good day, probably have a good reed going, but
And how long will a reed last you?
If
Can you say?
I tend to rotate them. So I have a bunch going, you know, I have cases and cases of reeds, and it can last, if you're rotating them, they can last for a couple months. But you know, a few weeks, depending on how often you play it. If I just played the same reed over and over again, it's not going to last that long. So, yeah.
And you were describing your instrument there that's made up of a composite and so on. I mean, string players on the whole would say, well, the older the instrument, sometimes the better the instrument, an old Stradivarius or whatever. That doesn't apply so much. The best clarinet is a brand new clarinet.
Yeah, well, it doesn't apply really because the bore of our instrument, when it gets worn down, the sound just ends up being blown out. So I would say a clarinet would last for maybe like 7 years before the sound starts to really change, and it becomes hard to center the tone and hard to control the pitch. So the bore does change in the instrument. So I would definitely say, you know, it's not the same thing as a, you know, people try 20 clarinets, 30 clarinets to find one that they really like. So, but I would definitely say like the newer the instruments, the better. And they're always making improvements on them. So there's new models. Yeah.
Now, apart from the Stamford Symphony, you play in a number of other ensembles.
Yes.
Tell us your other main
Sure.
places you play.
I am the second clarinetist of American Ballet Theatre Orchestra, and also the second clarinetist in the American Symphony Orchestra. And I'm an associate musician with the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. And I've played on numerous Broadway shows, but those orchestras are pretty much where I spend most of my time. I really love playing with the ballet orchestra and with the Met Orchestra. We're in the pit, but it's really fun to accompany the singers and the dancers. And the repertoire is so different than the orchestral repertoire that it's really enjoyable for me to play. I mean, just with all these different ensembles, I'm playing so much different repertoire. It never gets boring, and it's really, really fun to keep things spiced up.
And you don't get frustrated sitting in the pits. You can't see what's going on stage.
No, I don't know. No, I mean, I know I guess I'm jealous of the violins who sit further out in the pit where they can actually see the stage. But no, I enjoy it. I don't know. I enjoy the repertoire. I do have to say, this year I played a run of the opera Akhenaten at the Met, which was really, really amazing. And the really interesting thing about this for us was they changed the seating arrangement in the pit. So I actually got to sit all the way in the front of the pit, and I could see what was going on stage the whole time. And then I sort of realized it's a whole different experience to actually be able to see what was happening. So I guess I'm a little jealous of that, but I really enjoy all the music. So it keeps me from getting distracted not to be able to see. So.
Now, who wrote really well for the clarinet? Which composers really had a feel for the instrument and you like playing their music?
Well, Mozart, obviously. That's like the obvious one, I think. Mozart's Clarinet Concerto and the quintet. I mean, all of Mozart's writing for the clarinet is some of the most brilliant music, I mean, I think, ever written. It's just, when you play it on the instrument, it just feels like it was just meant to be played on that instrument. It works absolutely beautifully, perfectly. There's so many composers that I love, so it's hard to see. Let's see. A composer that I've played a lot of over the last several years, oddly enough, is Strauss. And what I find interesting about Strauss is that he wrote for a bunch of different kinds of instruments. He used the B flat, the A, the E flat, the bass clarinet, and he used the C clarinet a lot, which was really interesting because the C clarinet has, it's kind of in between the B flat and the E flat. It's got some high qualities, and the way he wrote for those instruments, it was like every single instrument had a part that was specifically meant for that instrument. And it's really nice to play some of Strauss's repertoire because you can really hear that he was very intentional in his writing and who he scored certain things for, what instruments. So, yeah.
I often think of the clarinet as, I mentioned it as being so versatile earlier. I think of it as a great jazz instrument.
Oh yeah.
As much as a classic orchestral instrument. You ever ventured into the jazz field?
I dabbled into it. I wouldn't say I'm very good, but I absolutely love, I love jazz. And I did some time I spent like doing, transcribing some things. And, I wouldn't say that I'm like a big improviser, but I like to dabble. But I love playing in the style of, Benny Goodman and all these great jazz clarinetists. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little shy about it because I wouldn't say, there's so many amazing jazz clarinetists and jazz musicians. Mm-hmm. So I'm in awe when I hear them. Yeah.
Now, occasionally you must stop practicing and stop doing all those many performances with all those orchestras. What do you do in your spare time and when you're not being a professional musician?
I'm a full-time mom. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point in my life, taking care of 2 young children is a full-time job by itself. So when I'm not playing, I'm home with my family, my wife and my 2 boys. And I really just love spending that time with them. And when I'm not working in the evening, I don't practice in the evening. I really dedicate that time to them. And when we're all together, really, family is the most important thing to me. So, yeah, I think that's where I spend the majority of my time outside of playing. So, yeah.
I'm hearing that a lot. It's one of the silver linings of this cloud that's over us right now, that a lot of people are having family time. And I was talking to an older member of the board this morning, and she said her kids are calling her every week or on Zoom, which is more than they used to. And she said, that's great. We are connecting a lot more, yeah. And families coming together a lot more at this time. So that's a great silver lining, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, Shari, you're looking well.
Thank you.
Regards to all the family. Stay safe. And we're counting the days until we can all get back together and play again, hopefully in the fall.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Russell. You take care.
Thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you on my virtual sofa again very soon.
Thanks
so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.